The internet as a whole, and YouTube in particular, are full of perfectly lovely people who look a bit like this, offering Games Master advice suited to their idealised, happy, fluffy vision of gaming. But when the clickety-clacks hit the table, most of that advice, whether highfalutin indie fart sniffing or cuddle buddy kumbaya coddling, ain't worth shit. It's the kung wu and bullshido of GM advice. This isn't that. This is street GMing. Yo, what's up, homies? Hello, lovelies. Right, listen up. We're talking prep and speed today, two things that are very closely related to each other. Half of you are killing your own games before you even manage to schedule a session around everyone's shit. You've been watching all of these smiley, helpful, friendly GM advice channels. Lovely lighting, cheerful voices, all of that. Here's how to lovingly detail an elven bakery for 4 hours. Balls to that. That's not what we're here for. Games mastering is a challenge. It is difficult, right? And we should stop shying away from that, because challenges can engage people. The challenge is part of the reason why it is such a satisfying thing to do, and that's why I only really like to GM. I don't particularly like to play. I like to run the game. Maybe I'm just a control freak. GMing is as hard as a diamond erection and as difficult as a toddler at a funeral service. But that's what makes the satisfaction so real, so gratifying. And we live in the real world, not the idealised vision of a handful of YouTubers. You've got work, you've got family issues, you've got stress, you've got a porn addiction to feed, you've got existential dread. You do not have time to spend your entire fucking weekend crafting a tavern menu in 3 dialects of High Elvish, when the wankers who turn up to play at your table won't appreciate any of that work anyway. So if you're going to do it for yourself, not for anybody else. But here's the truth. You either learn to prep fast, run fast, and keep the game moving, or you're going to burn out through wasted effort, and your campaign will die on session 6, like every other rot grub-infested corpse of good intentions on Roll20. Now, Prep is not world building. Let's be absolutely clear on that from the jump. World building is you alone scribbling lore that no one else gives a shit about into a Moleskine or a wiki. That's world building. It might inform the other stuff that you do, and it's fun in and of itself, but it's not actually useful time spent when it comes to the game. Prep is for what actually happens at the table next session. If it doesn't affect player decisions and interactions, if it doesn't cause conflict, if it doesn't challenge them and create situations that require roleplay or conflict resolution, often at the end of a sword, if it's not going to show up in play this week, then it's not prep. It's masturbation. Now, I support masturbation. It's great for stress, blood pressure, and your prostate, or plenty of other things. But let's just call it what it is. I mean, it's great for sock salesmen. You do not need a novel. You do not need a trilogy. You do not need to write the whole Wheel of Time series before you get to the table. You need to know one thing: what's going to happen next that forces the players to make choices. That's the prep. Not descriptive prose, not insane complexity, just a skeleton of your ideas, and then the meat goes on the bone at the table. Alright, let's talk about the 30-second plot point. The Kaiser Soze method. This is pretty much how I used to run games, and what I got a good reputation as a games master for. I got treated like a game console, which is both bad and good. Pick a system, make a character, tell Grim we want to play this. 30 seconds later, we're rolling. Right? Most games masters freeze because they think a plot has to be clever and complete before you start. No, it fucking doesn't. It just needs pressure. It needs something to get things going and to keep up that pace. Players will generate all the clever bits all by themselves as they try to survive, meet the challenges, and make sense of whatever few clues you give them, like like a game theory channel, right? So go with that. Go with the ideas and paranoia that they bring to the table, improvise around it, incorporate the feedback and the good ideas that the 6 other lazy motherfuckers at the table managed to come up with. But here's the move, right? You look around wherever you are right now, or I used to just see what bubbled to the top of my brain. What's around you? Person, woman, man, camera, TV. Alright, piss taking aside. There's a mug. Right, there's a news website headline I've got up on my other screen about livestock mutilation and horse stabbings. Bit unfair, I was researching for something else, but let's go with it. There's a broken watch on my jewellery stand. Yes, I have a jewellery stand. But bang, plot. Somebody's mutilating livestock. The locals are terrified. There's a cursed time keeper or time element involved somehow. Maybe the thieves aren't human and they're stuck in a time loop or out of time, out of phase, repeating a night ritual that went wrong or something. But done. Plot. Boom. Took 5 seconds. Even has a ready plot hook. Depending on genre you're aiming for, one way or another, the characters can be asked to look into this because you have a mystery that's likely to fox any local law enforcement or whatever else. If you had another 25 seconds, you can add a few elements to make it a bit spicy, come up with some important NPC outlines like 1 sentence long or whatever, but you don't need to because the players will, and through their interactions with the story, they will come up with things that you can then incorporate. Do they think it's a cult? Alright then, let's make it a cult. Do they think it's UFOs? Sure, we can make it aliens, whatever. You're still involved because you're interpreting and winnowing out the good ideas from the bad ones that they come up with, but why not offload the work? And not in the formal way that forces it upon you in a lot of games where people spend story points to introduce new elements or whatever. The story occurs when players interact with and confront problems or make assumptions, not when you sculpt the perfect backstory tome, so lean into that. Now stats. I'm going to tell you something that will set you free, even for complicated and high prep games, or possibly cause you to faint if you're a rules precision fanatic. But here's something worth noting, right? The players can't see your notes. They don't know what you wrote down. They don't know what the official stat block says unless they're cheating. And most of the time they don't actually care. Half the shitbags don't even know the rules at all and ask you every single time they have to make a roll. Right, they care that the thing makes sense, fights well, feels consistent, fits the tone, is at the right sort of challenge level for what they're trying to do. So for any game, even crunchy nonsense like Pathfinder or D&D, you can make templates around the appropriate level of challenge, some a little lower, some a little higher, for all your nondescript baddies. And then you have a stat pool of average bad guys, right? Give them some generic and average stats, just the shit you need, nothing more. Give them a good score for rolling things that they're good at, a moderate score for things that they can try but aren't great at, and a bad score for things that they're weak at. Maybe a little guidance, right, on that when it comes to turning it into an individual monster. Give them an appropriate amount of damage, armor, maybe a couple of slots for special abilities that you can make up on the hoof. Right, so now you have an easily grabbable stat block for anything at that sort of challenge level. Right, you can slap on a name, describe them like you mean it, shuffle a couple of points around if you want to, come up with a special ability, do the fight, and then move on with your life without having to reference a whole bunch of stuff or do a whole bunch of prep. Right, because you have this one thing, this one table or whatever of standard bad guys ready to go. If a player complains and says, hang on, goblins don't normally have a necrotic breath weapon, these ones bloody do, because they've been living in a cheese cave for months, right? And I decided to give them that ability. So cheese caves, real thing, look them up. Alright, next up, this will save you a ton of time and bookkeeping. I have talked about it before, but we're going to talk about it again because it's such a great trick. The mob trick. Nothing kills pacing more efficiently than the games master having to do bookkeeping like a depressed tax accountant for a dozen individual hobgoblins, each one with their own hit points. Fighting 8 goblins shouldn't feel like running payroll. Treat the whole mob as one enemy, particularly, obviously, with Theatre of the Mind, but you can do it on the tabletop as well with minis. Give them 8 chunks of hit points. Every time players do enough damage to remove one goblin's worth of hit points between them, describe that goblin going down. And reduce the amount of attacks that the mob can do, or remove one of the figures, whichever one got hit last, off the table. That's it. You're still giving them the satisfaction of carving through a swarm of goblins, but you're not tracking 8 separate health pools, initiative placements, and the goblin in row 3 who has 7 hit points left and a slight cold, but is technically engaged with the cleric who's concentrating on a spell, target... fuck that. No, shut up, stop, life's too short. Alright, one pool, many dying idiots. Keep it that way. The bonus thing here is that even with multiple enemies, sometimes someone, not even necessarily the main fighty characters, is going to get a one-shot kill and thereby feel like an absolute badass, which is more cinematic. So maybe Dave the Barbarian has been wailing on that particular orc over there for 3 turns, reducing the pool's hit points. Then Madge the Thief slips out of the shadows and slides a shiv into a completely different orc's ribs, but because the pool is low, that orc dies instantly. Right? It just works. It just works really well. Try it. Next point. Momentum matters more than accuracy. The second you stop and say, hold up, I need to check the rules for grappling in underwater with partial cover at dusk, then the game sort of dies. It dies fairly instantly. It dies like a Victorian child in a workhouse. Gone, sad music, curtains down. Yeah. This is a touch hypocritical of me because I do grind things to a halt this way sometimes, particularly when running my own games where I've forgotten my own rules and I feel like I should get them right. Or when I genuinely have absolutely no idea and no inspiration, or my brain is already fried. Still, what we should do is just make a ruling, make it fast, say it confidently. That's more persuasive than actually being right most of the time. Keep the scene moving, don't brook any argument, and just keep going. It may even turn out that you like your improvised ruling better than the actual rules when you look them up later, if you turn out to have been wrong in the ruling that you made, but who cares, fix it next time. The rhythm of the game is more important, especially during a fight, which is when most games tend to slow down a huge amount. It doesn't really matter in this instance whether grappling does half damage on alternate Wednesdays in between. What matters is you keep the pace going and it makes sense in the moment. Right? That's the other aspect to this. It doesn't matter if it doesn't make sense elsewhere. Does it make sense in the moment, in the here and now? And if you can make a ruling that's good enough for that, good enough. Alright. Your energy sets the table. If you're hesitant, apologetic, slow, tired, mumbly, faintly ashamed of the game because someone brought their girlfriend who doesn't play and is sitting there judgmentally watching you, then your players will drift. They will check their phones, they'll chat, they'll get bored, or start treating the session like background noise to their beer, crisps and vape clouds. If you come in hot, if you're already in world, already narrating like this shit really matters, then they'll come with you. You don't need to be a voice actor. You don't need to be Matt Mercer. You just need to care and to move and to keep moving, because momentum is the major driver of immersion, in my not so humble opinion. And immersion is the difference between we played for hours and nothing happened and holy shit, I'm thinking about this session 3 days later while trying to sleep. It's okay to pause, take a breath, leave room for character development and roleplay, or to run the slow burn or the paranoid build up an atmosphere, but you still have to create it through your intention and presentation. Alright? The rhythm of the game is what's important. So let's wrap this up. Stop prepping lore novels. Prepare problems, challenges, confrontations, reasons to roleplay, reasons to make decisions. Stop rewriting bestiaries over and over again. Use quick templates. Stop tracking every goblin's dental records. Use mob hit point pools. Stop worshipping rules. Make rulings. Then check later. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Start the scene now. Keep things moving. Prep fast. Run fast. Keep the pressure on. Let the players burn the world down and then act surprised. Go with their ideas if they're good ones. If your prep takes more than an hour or two, you're either running a land war in Asia or you're procrastinating. Now, go run something worth running. Zang.
The Shadow World is an homage to 90s goth culture, goth punk games, and the interminable pettiness of the LARP scene. Bloodsucker, Chav, and WizKid thrust you into a world of teen drama, occult shenanigans, and comedically weak supernatural powers. You know it's good, because RPGnet accused it of classism. Available at post-morp.com, lulu.com, and DriveThruRPG.